Hi, this is Lauren Engel of Sidewalk. Talk to him here with Orri, who does artist development for Monstercat. And I'm just starting this whole new series where I have people who are at the top of their industry to explain what it's like working behind the scenes. So I want to make this series super informative for you guys. And we have Orri to kick started.
I think in this day and age, an artist doesn't have to sign to a record label to release music. And so when you look at the services that a record label offers, they need to be beyond just distribution. Anybody can get, a free account or, pay a very small amount of money to put their music on different platforms or just upload it to different platforms that have no cost. All the components that they need in order to be self-sufficient. So when you look at a record label and the services that a record label offers, they really have to go above and beyond that. A record label needs to bring something unique to the table. So whether that is access to resources that an artist can't get, like, vocalists, like funds to create video content, things like that. It could also be like access to a community. I think that that's where we're seeing a lot of audiences pop up, or a lot of record labels pop up, is ones that have these like rampant audiences that an artist can get in front of and connect with. And so I think that those are a lot of the components that a record label brings to the table now that an artist can't do. But at the same time, I think it's also like, as a creative, where do you want to focus your attention? Like, there's only so many hours in a day. And so, if you're focusing on writing the songs and then making the artwork and then handling the distribution and making sure that all the revenues are collected and paid out to any of the other people involved in the record, like handling all the social media and marketing assets and promotion, like suddenly there's a lot of hats that you need to wear. And ultimately what's gonna suffer the most is your ability to be a musician. And so a record label can come in, or management can come in, or some combination, and support you on the things that you maybe aren't wanting to focus on. But again, that's such a unique situation for every individual. And so it really depends on, where you are, what you want to be doing, what you're passionate about. I've met people who literally can do it all and are just looking for somebody to come in and like amplify what they're doing. I use the analogy of like an artist is really like the spark, and all these things around it, labels, managers, agents, like it's really just the gasoline that's being thrown onto that fire, and if there's no spark there. Every label structures their releases differently. I think that what we're seeing more and more is labels entering deals with artists that are mutually beneficial. You're seeing 50-50 splits on a record, but that varies and every label handles it differently. But I would say that, from our perspective, a 50-50 deal is more than just like a percentage. It's like a philosophy. We want our artists to know that we're going into a release and that we're both able to kind of reap the rewards and benefits of the work that we put into it. Yeah, I'd say that once you find interest from a label, the most important thing is to be like authentic, to make sure that your passion for your project, comes across in a way that the label can relate to and understand. I love seeing an artist who's just like, bursting at the seams with excitement. That gets me really excited. That gets our teams really excited. And that's where kind of the unique ideas and concepts that go into a great release campaign or just a great artist in general, that's where that comes from. I think that it's really important for an artist to understand what it is that they're getting into, understand their deal, ask questions, make sure that they're comfortable with the situation. And it's a label's job to work with an artist to make sure that they understand that. So don't feel like, you can't ask those questions. And I think beyond that, like I mentioned, I think we really want to make sure that we're connecting with people who we can vibe with and people who we can see ourselves working with, in a long-term basis. So you need to be a type of person that people want to work with. You need to be open and understanding and accept feedback, and all those things are really important. But yeah, it's a great position to be in as an artist. If you don't have a team around you, a traditional team, management, a lawyer, I would recommend finding as close to that as you can. It can be, a relative, it can be a close friend, it can be just an external objective opinion that's on your side. I'd love to say that, every artist that we've signed with in the past knows every detail of their agreement, but that's not necessarily true. Like, some artists just sign an agreement. I can at least take pride in the fact that our agreement is incredibly fair and incredibly mutually beneficial. But at the same time, sometimes an artist doesn't understand the agreement and they don't know to ask questions. They don't know who to look to. And like I said, it's really the label's responsibility to explain that information to an artist, explain why deals are structured in a certain way. And you know what? Bringing on a lawyer or bringing on some form of counsel is something that I would recommend for everybody who's signing a contract beyond music. You need to understand what that means for you and for your business. And that's a cost of doing business. And so you can't, even because if you're just starting out and you see a great opportunity, you have to look at it like from a business perspective and make sure that you're covering yourself and that you're comfortable with what you're entering. And I think that especially for young and developing artists, you can be so excited at the prospect of signing this record with this label, and it's so great that a lot of artists find sometimes that in the long run they made a decision that they don't feel comfortable with now that they understand. So if you can't find proper legal counsel, at least bring somebody on who isn't emotionally attached to this opportunity to give you some form of objective feedback. Ask the label. The label will explain the points that you're unclear about. The label's responsible for making sure that this agreement is signed. So if you're not comfortable with it, they will work with you to get it signed. Don't ever just blindly sign your rights away. I would say that the deals that a record label can offer the artist are very dependent on their infrastructure and what kind of services they offer. So if you are a just starting out label, you're new in the space, you're also trying to create something for yourself, signing an artist to an extended deal might not make sense. And it doesn't have to. I understand the perspective of, if you know that you can commit to something for an extended period of time, that it makes the investment into an artist, time, resources, a bit more stable. And that works for some people, but it doesn't have to necessarily work for everyone. Again, I can only really speak to Monstercat's perspective on this, but we sign singles, we don't sign artists. But the intention is that the fairness of our agreement, the work that we put into a record, the results that we get, sort of the things that we bring to the table, that's what keeps an artist coming back. I don't necessarily believe that a promise of a prosperous 3 to 5 years on a piece of paper and then locking somebody in for that period of time is necessarily the move for everybody. There are situations where that's a fantastic thing to do, and an artist who's prepared to make that sort of commitment should wholeheartedly jump into that if they believe that it's right for them. But if you're working with good people, if you're having good experiences, if you're seeing good results, that's also enough to keep an artist coming back. And I think that we've been very fortunate to have artists that who've been releasing with us for 8 years now and are integral parts of our community and have no commitment necessarily to having to come back to Monstercat, but they do. At the same time, I also believe that an artist shouldn't necessarily be restricted from releasing in other areas. For me and for our entire company, we are advocates and supporters of our artists branching out, releasing music elsewhere. I recognize that when a Monstercat artist goes and releases on a different label and then comes back to Monstercat, they're finding new fans. They're bringing those new fans with them. We're sending fans over there. Our community's growing. ultimately that helps the artist, and I would never want to be, as a label, necessarily restricting an artist from making a decision that's better for their career.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and of course for Orri.
Thanks for having me.
I know, it's been so fun. I've learned
Keeping me hostage all day.
I know, we filmed like so many hours, so you guys please watch all 3 videos. But I've learned so much from today too.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was
like,
a lot of fun.
just so informative. And if you guys have found this really helpful for your careers, just share it to your friends or whoever you know that's wanting to work in music industry, no matter where they are in the world, or producing, or just huge fans of Monstercat. Just feel free to share like any of these videos that we filmed today.
Perfect.
Yeah.